if you are in a relationship where it has been, I'm giving, and I'm the one that's holding this whole thing all together, or so I think. And then all of a sudden I change my viewpoint, right?
Yeah.
As I change my viewpoint and I change what's inside me, and I start to love myself. I start to give myself what I need, and I start to become this person independent of what has been happening in this relationship. I would say 99% of the time you will lose that relationship because that person is so used to a different you.
Yeah,
They will not change with you.
And I think everyone needs to open their mind up to that. We're all here to learn and evolve. So we're not all ready for relationships even when we enter into them, okay? So when we're entering into them and we see an opportunity to have a conversation, a hard one, then we have it. And then we see who that person is and give them time to evolve into the frame you're in, because I think what Justin's saying is a little right in terms of leading, because I think we as women have to realize, why do we even pick the man we go with? Because he's a leader, right? He seems like a leader to us that we're going to follow, but we're going to follow him only if he shows interest in us. And the moment he doesn't show interest in us, we're going to stop following.
Let's get into today's topic today, men and women.
Ooh,
welcome to Remember You.
Yes.
All right. So we can just kick this off. I think we all have personal experience with relationships and the pluses and the minuses, the pros, the cons of everything. We started before the podcast getting into just the dynamic between men and women and why things work and why things don't seem to work. And I started off with things. We all deal with trauma, especially from children growing up. And it seems to be that there's often a case where it's not always 100% of the time, but there's some trauma. And we were talking about crazy moms and having to deal with therapy, Hope and Christina doing hypnosis sessions on children and dealing with crazy moms. And I interjected and said, not interjected, but added to the conversation, saying that deep down, the reason why the mom is acting crazy is because the man is not holding this frame. And so this brought up the conversation of what is the roles between men and women? What is the roles for each other, and how does it play into the dynamic of our lives, love and connection and otherwise? So I just wanted to segue and set that up so we can start a conversation with this.
And I guess it's how does a man hold his frame? What is that to you? And that's what I guess I wanted you to explain for the audience, is what is holding his frame?
What is a frame?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
And how does he know to hold it, and how is he supposed to hold it? And
So starting off, setting up the framework of men and women, there's attraction is different for women than it is for men. And we get into this societal norm that we're all equal, men and women, and we're not. And that's not a flaw. That's not to say one is higher than the other. We just perceive and take things differently, literally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything. And so,
and we're made that way.
We're made that way, literally. So like for the dynamic of sex, it's literally one has to surrender and one has to take on like the dominant role, right? And you can get in all your preferences later on into that, but the point is that we're made that way. And so a woman is attracted to a man who is not subservient to her or her attraction or her sexuality. It's kind of like the best analogy I can give is like, how do you attract a cat? You don't attract a cat by going over and grabbing it. You kind of lure it in through you just kind of being yourself and your energy and you're living your own life. And so the dynamic between a man and woman is the attraction from a woman is attracted to a man who has value, who is oftentimes has a high sense of value for himself and his mission. And so he's kind of on his own path and doing his thing. And a woman wants to be, in Hope's words, inspired by the man that she's with or that she's attracted to. And So to answer your question, Michelle, on what is frame, it's a man who's on a mission, who is not swayed by anything other than the mission at hand. And for that, it should be self-mastery first and foremost. Like to master his emotions, to master his body, to master his thoughts, and to, at the final stage, and I'll speak personally, to master his lust. Like that is the biggest thing that he has to master, that I find working with men. And when you can master
what does that mean?
So like you're not tempted just because there's something pretty there doesn't mean you need to go up and touch it or go
or even look at it. That's the whole thing. Because the whole thing with men is you're pursuing the woman you want, right? This is why we go with you guys. You pursue us, you lead, you set up the dates, you do all this thing, you show interest in the one woman. And so then we decide, yeah, you're a good guy and we like being with you and we think you're a good person and you go to work and all these good things. So, but then you get married or you stay in a relationship and things can change. And so women can start seeing you looking at other women. I mean, yeah, so that woman that's with you.
Isn't that natural?
And so that's
Isn't it natural for a man? Every man, I mean, every man that is attracted to a woman, they have a natural instinct. It's an animal instinct to be with multiple women.
Well, how does it make you feel when you see the one that you're married to doing that? Does it make you feel good? And then what do you feel about yourself? It depends
on you as a woman. Because for me, I'm like the one that's looking at the waitress walking by with big boobs. And I'm like, wow, those boobs are big. Are they real or fake?
Okay.
But you're eyeing them just as much as the men.
And I'm not like into women.
Not in the
so
same
give me
way, right?
Yeah, just let me tell you
where
that.
is this conversation?
I
am not into it, but I understand that something beautiful is there to be looked at. Now, if you take it to the next level, I think then you're crossing a line if you're in a monogamous relationship.
I think it's more subliminal for women. It's like, okay, if I think he's looking at someone else, how does that make me feel? And that's why I said earlier, it's about, do you feel good about yourself? Then you're not going to care. But if you don't feel good about yourself, then you are going to care. And if you think he's treating you differently now than before and not showing interest and pursuing you like before, which usually happens in marriage and relationships that go long term, then that's when you start feeling a certain way. And that's why just a massage or doing things for the woman isn't going to be enough anymore because she doesn't feel what she felt at the beginning.
Well, but let's just take a step though. The pursuit is over.
Yeah, right? I was just going to, here, the other thing, I'll say this, the whole idea of like pursuit and who's pursuing who, this is where I think it gets conflicted here. I'm not saying it's 100% of the time, but in my experience, it has been the closest and the best dynamic in relationships has been when I'm not pursuing the woman. And it's just like,
wow,
let me explain though. Let me explain, because it's not like I don't notice the woman or I'm not showing attraction or I'm not giving attention. It's when she becomes your world, then it's kind of like when you have it, that's why I say a cat. I'm not comparing you all to cats in the sense of like literal animal.
I've been called an avoidant cat many times.
But it's just like once when you get the toy, when you get him, then it's like, okay, it's not as exciting anymore now that you have him locked in. And I'm not saying this on the context of like marriage is lockdown, the pursuit, the dating, the dynamic of attraction, and it's never just locked and loaded and done. You have to continuously every single day create that attraction, create that spontaneity, create that newness excitement. That excitement. And this is where.
But doesn't that come within you?
So that's the point so the man loses that because he starts to turn his power outward instead of inward. So what attracted you in the first place in this man is that he was inwardly focused. He was in tune with himself and doing the things that he wanted to do because it gave him excitement. And then what happens over time is then men let the woman take over and not to your fault. This is a feature here. You're meant to test the man. You're meant to really present things to him in ways. And it could be little things like, let's go to my friend's house when he wants to go out and do something else, go chop wood or go on an adventure or something like that. it's death by 1,000 cuts, where this man starts to give up the things that made him the very thing that you were attracted to in the first place. And he loses touch with that. And then he gets lethargic. He gets lazy, or he
I want
gets
to know if
dull.
that's what you two ladies think about relationships, is like he loses frame and then you just lose interest, or what is it that maybe makes you feel like something's missing?
Yep. I have a lot of thoughts on all these things. This is such a good conversation. One thing that's really interesting that you brought up about looking at other women, this happened to me very recently. And it was like something new that I noticed in my relationship. My partner was like, very obviously, like, where we moved, there's just like a lot of really beautiful people. It's like a really nice area. I mean, like, even like me, I'm just like, oh, I love being around this like really beautiful, youthful, ambitious energy. But like, I've like noticed that like recently, and I'm like, and I couldn't believe though that it made me uncomfortable, because I have the same exact opinion as you. And also, I really love my body. I think I'm attracted. Like, I'm happy with myself. And so I'm like, women are beautiful. Like, I'm like you. I'm like, I love women. Like, great. But it still made me really uncomfortable. And I like don't know, like, I'm like struggling with it. Like, I'm like, why is that? Because I don't want him to feel like he's like in this prison cage. Like, no, be who you are. Stay in your frame. Like, have those things that make you, like, I don't want you to have to be like hyper vigilant. But is it also okay to like have that conversation? Because like I like wasn't gonna bring it up, but it was just so obvious. There were two different scenarios, and I was like, it was like festering in me, and I was like, okay, if I don't say this, like, it's gonna become resentful, you know. And it doesn't have to be this deep conversation. I was like, I have to say something really embarrassing to you. Like, I'm like embarrassed that this is like uncomfortable, and I brought it up, and he kind of like. He like he wasn't even conscious. He was just like, he was just like, oh my God, like I'm sorry, you know, like.
So you can notice something beautiful, and it's like in my peripherals, I can notice somebody beautiful, and I don't change because of that beauty. So I think what's going on in these situations where you're feeling triggered in some way.
I was surprised that I was, because I feel the same exact way as you. So it's just what is that?
So it's like,
I think women are wired to feel like they're in competition with the other women.
So this is part of the attraction thing, where it's like you want a man who is desirable to other people. I mean, like, you want that to some extent. There's a price you pay for that and it's dependent upon the individual, but you set up boundaries. You want somebody who's attractive because they're attractive to you. But through that process, you want something valuable, because by definition, something valuable means other people want it. And so there's something even more attractive, is when the man has the attraction of other possibilities, but he's focused, he's centered, he's in tune, he's committed, right? And so it's like, this is where I use fitness as an analogy. It's like nobody can make that body other than the person committed to it. Like it's you and you only. So it's an example of commitment to something that is attractive, that then gives you, oh, if he's committed to this, he could be committed to that. And it just transpires into other areas. But if he's unconscious of this gaze or this look, it's like, it's a lack of self-mastery.
That's what I was, my thing was just like, I'm like totally on the same page, but I don't identify as competing with women. I feel like there's a generational
I think
thing.
It's like underneath. It's not like something we even connect or relate to on the surface level, but underneath it, just in
I was just like
centuries,
icked out. I was like okay, like chill.
Here's one thing I want to say about men, and if they're even looking at other women. I had a law partner that was accused of looking at other women, and he never was. So it can be just us thinking he's looking because we think the woman's beautiful, or we think because she has larger breasts, he's looking, and he's not. So there's that other scenario. And have an insecurity, and it's not even happening.
The other thing that I've seen happen in my actual like therapy sessions and different things with clients is that a woman might be actually doing something on the side and being with somebody else and then accusing her man of looking at the other women because that's what they're doing.
Ways. That can go both
and they're
ways,
seeing it in the mirror.
Well, that's like projection 101.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's all different reasons, I think. And I do agree with you that it might be, I don't know if it's a generational thing or what, but I don't feel in competition with other women. Now, can I say that I've gotten jealous in certain situations, not from looking, but like, oh, too much talking back and forth or lying to me about a conversation. Like why are you lying about a conversation that was supposedly just normal and there's nothing to lie about, you know? So then it brings back the question of what are we talking about? Whose role is it to feel safe, make that, if really it comes down to safety.
Yeah.
Security.
Women want security, men want loyalty.
Yeah.
Right. And those go hand in hand. So if the man doesn't feel secure in the sense of like, she's being loyal to me, then he's not going to give her the security emotionally, financially, and otherwise, right? Physically.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's this.
But the man shouldn't be loyal?
So this is where you get into like the different dynamics. Like you said, biologically, men are programmed biologically to not have the same attachment types as women. Like it's in our favor to have the ability to have multiple partners. For women, it's not in your favor in the sense because it's in terms of the biological component, you have one baby at one time and you want to feel secure while you're raising the baby.
Security, like the threat is like women have this, the I don't even know if it's a problem, but the issue of, yes, they can get pregnant. Yes, they can be at home mothers. They can do all these things. And that's where the threat comes in. If you're over here possibly looking at other people, because I'm not saying all men do this. If you are, then that's threatens my security in this relationship, that I may need to go and find another male to provide for this family because I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom or whatever, scenario is in the woman's head. That's why I say it's not even a surface level for us right now because most women think they can take care of themselves and handle a situation like that. But underneath, you do want security. You do want to pick the man that you think is going to really be the right guy that's going to stay there and you're going to have a long-term relationship with. That's what we all want.
Absolutely. So. I resonate with a lot of that. But I think what is missing in a lot of all of these conversations is like people really getting super clear and intentional about what they actually want out of a relationship. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of people, and we always talk about programming. So it's like everyone's like, okay, the goal in life is to get a mate. And like your lifelong mate. And like, I need to find my soulmate and like my love and like this and that. And then we're going to like live this perfect life and it's just going to be us. And it's like, then you get into that and you have your experiences and then you realize like for so many people, like that's not always the case. Or like you need to go through different relationships to actually understand not just what you want, but what you actually need. There's certain things I literally like, I have like a thing for musicians and like motorcycles. And it's like, I'm never looking at that person to like be my life partner, but it's like, that's a want versus like a need, like, and so I think if I didn't have those dating experiences, I wouldn't have been able to be more clear about, okay, like this is what I'm looking for in a life partner and like actually be able to move into a relationship that is, the goal is to be like long-term. And so I think like no one's having these really uncomfortable conversations. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what are your digital boundaries? Like I was saying, social media adds this totally different element. Like, does it make you uncomfortable if he's like liking some girl's pictures, like, or whatever else? Like, what is the lay of the land? And to be, in my opinion, at all successful in a relationship now is just like actually radical transparency and just being honest. And like, I think there's a balance to where you can like over therapize this shit out of relationships where you're like, are you okay? Am I okay? Like, I'm overreading your tone. Like, that's so me because I'm so sensitive.
There's a book about this.
But it's like, there is a balance. Like in the beginning, I think you have to have all of these conversations. It's like.
Well, and you can't really until something happens. Like whatever happened with you.
Which is great. Yeah.
Which is great that you were able to have the conversation right away.
I was so
Most
embarrassed.
People don't do that.
I was so embarrassed. I was like, why do I care about that? I've never really like.
But so it's a good sign that you're able to
I was so triggered. I was like, but I was embarrassed. I was like, who cares? Like, I literally look at women too. Like, I'm like, you're beautiful. You're great. Like, but I had to say something because it was like festering.
And then but his response also helped you to get through that.
Yeah, he's no fucking idea. I was like, totally blind.
Sometimes they don't even realize that you thought that's what they did.
Yeah.
That they probably didn't even do it. You know what I mean? That's the whole point. Some men do it, some men don't. And then we interpret certain things that are not really happening. That's why it's good to have the conversations. You say what you need to say, and then he responds, and you get through it.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I think it's funny now. My point is, this happened literally like 72 hours ago, and I've been like cracking about it. I'm like, I can't believe I had to say something. Like, why did this bother me? Because it just feels like I don't want the person to feel like they can't be like a human being and like enjoying life, you know?
Other thing, it's like you're in a relationship with that person, so you should be able to share whatever you're feeling, and they should be able to receive it and then have a conversation and get through it. If that's just it's not a correct interpretation of what happened, or if it did, I understand that that's a sensitivity of yours and I'm going to care about it.
And he was like, I literally had no idea. And like, I will do absolutely my best to like, I don't want to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so it was like a good conversation, but it was just like, nobody has those little micro moments like that.
No.
Me just saying that, like, I don't even feel any way about it. No, I'm just like, cool, like water under the bridge. Like,
that's why I say there's resentment that builds up, like why a man that is trying to make up for stuff, like give massages now, but whatever conversation she had, what didn't happen for them. Whatever was bothering her at the beginning and she never addressed it. And then she got him, he started doing things like.
She's holding on to resentment.
So he doesn't know.
What I would suggest, and it would actually be interesting to go around the table and just say, what is an ideal relationship for you?
I think one with communication, where she could say what she feels.
You got to be a master communicator. I'm such a good communicator.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm a feeler. So it's like, I'm like, you blinked twice wrong. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, if I'm with someone, I'm so in tune. And it's like, and that's my favorite thing too about my partner now is like, we're so equally hypersensitive. And it's like, it's a blessing and a curse because like, literally we were out to dinner with his parents and he like said some shit that like annoyed me. Like, and I didn't even do anything. I just kind of like, we're all sitting there and he texted me at the table while his parents started talking, like in the conversation goes like, your energy shifted. Like what happened?
Wow.
So it's like, that to me is like,
that's the ideal relationship.
Okay, so yours is all about communication.
I think it involves both parties being able to communicate, because if you don't communicate, then you both harbor resentment and then you treat each other the certain way for years.
Well, and how often, and when
I'm
you're
like
thinking,
crazy.
so when you think,
I would literally like, I can't not do communication like that.
Yeah, and not everyone does it.
Yeah.
So even as our listeners, as you're listening to this, ask yourself this: what do you prioritize so that you can communicate with your significant other?
I'm gonna throw it in there in regards to like we talked about love and what people want this long-term relationship, and to your point, like what was the question you asked?
Like, what do you prioritize so that you have good communication?
Yourself. That's the number one. Like everybody is this codependent relationship, which causes this trigger, and then it's pointing the finger at the person going, you did this happened, and you're the face of it. And what we're here is we're all adults masquerading as adults, children who are hurt and trying to fulfill the love that we didn't get as children from our parents.
I mean, it goes back to, I think we've had another podcast about this, is when you're loving yourself and you're giving yourself everything that you need, you're not looking for it outside.
You don't need it from anybody else.
And so then you show up as your true authentic self.
This goes into my point of the frame. This is all circling back to the man dropping the fucking ball, is that if I exude self-mastery and I don't need anybody, that is the most attractive person in the room. And I'm not talking just like, and I don't mean this like I don't need anybody, like fuck you all. I'm talking about like from a standpoint of I'm good with myself. I don't need anybody else. Not in the context of like I'm hurt and I'm shut down, avoidant. And what I'm saying is it's from a standpoint of from a spiritual enlightenment perspective, a self-awareness perspective, is understanding that we are just mirrors of each other, and everything that you are reflecting to me that I don't like, that I'm triggered about, I don't point the finger at you. I'm looking at myself first and foremost as to why this is happening. And if they're a good communicator and they're a good mirror, they'll help you work through it and not judge you through the process. They'll help you identify it, and they'll take responsibility for how they partook in that situation.
And well, I think that's both parties having to be strong in being their own self. Like I think when women get in relationships, and maybe he's thinking men do this, but I think women can do it more where they lose what they used to do and don't take care of themselves, don't eat what they were eating, don't stay fit the way they were staying fit, and don't take the time for themselves like they used to because they had the time, they weren't with this guy. So
that's the other thing, right?
There's
like
more time.
Family and work and business that starts to drain.
Well, and I think that is it always swings throughout your life. So I'm a big believer that when you like, okay, I've been through so many relationships, right? And so I've had so many that have failed. And what I did was commit to myself that I would bring my best self forward, right? And there's always days that you just don't feel like your best self, right? And then something goes wrong, but then that's where your communication thing comes in to play.
That's where it seems, are you taking the time for yourself? Like men do this. They take time. They go play sports. They go do their own thing. And women don't always do that. Some maybe do, but some don't. Most
I would
don't.
say,
It's both.
It's, I mean, like we're in microcosms of worlds here, right?
Yeah.
Like in my world, the escape is business and that's their time. But then we all know that too much work and not enough play makes Jack a dull boy.
Yeah.
And he's going from home to work, and that his escape is work, but he has no time for himself. And then the same thing for the woman is she's taking care of the kids, or she's working and taking care of the kids, or they're both taking care of the kids, let's say, and nobody's having time for themselves.
Well, and I guess if you think about it from a different perspective, my perspective is more about when I'm doing these things in my life, right? Whether it's work or taking care of the kids or the house, or spending time for myself, a lot of people have a mindset of, I have to do this. And so I used to get really, really pissed off after dinner. Like my husband, he cooks dinner usually most of the time, but then nobody else helps clean up. So I'm always cleaning up. And so I would get like pissed off. I'm spending 20 minutes to an hour of my day, depending on how much of a mess he made in the kitchen. And I'm fucking cleaning this kitchen up again. And I'd get, so I have to do this and da-da-da. And all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, hey, what if I actually just decided to enjoy cleaning the kitchen up and made this something for myself? And I put a podcast on, I listen to some music. I before I'm cleaning the kitchen, I sit there and I think, I'm doing this for myself. I like a clean kitchen. I get to do this. Then all of a sudden, your whole world changes around you because you're getting to do it. And maybe you're not getting outside and going for the run that you wanted to do, but at least I'm reframing the way that I'm thinking about it. And so then I'm not like adding it to my list of to-do items of, okay, now I have to go do something for myself to show up better for everybody else. Well, I just cleaned the kitchen for 20 minutes and I learned something, or now I have a beautiful kitchen. And when people come over, they say, wow, your kitchen's so pretty. And it makes me happy. So I think it's how you frame it.
I think you have to be really aware, is that really making you happy though? Like you can reframe, oh, I love shoveling the snow. I love doing this. I love doing that. But you have
sentence will not hear.
You still got to make time for yourself, right? So you still got to think about what
and there's things. But there's things in your life, and you can totally disagree with me on this, but there's things in your life, let's just say taking care of kids. I used to like, I have so many things in my mind right now that I need to get done because I've always been like this workaholic, right? So me taking care of my kids always felt like it was a burden to me instead of saying it was a gift to me. Now I'm like, okay, let me just stop what I'm doing because you do need my attention and I get to have you in my life and I want to spend time with you. Now, sometimes I'm still thinking things, and my older son's really good at this. He'll snap me out of it and be like, you're not listening. It brings me back to the present. And it's just these reminders in your life that you need, but you have to be fully aware that, you know what, you're not there. There's no life where, unless you win the lottery or something, even then you still have to clean your house or do something, right?
And that's why we're promoting holistic wellness here. It's not just what you're talking about. It's like you need to like think about yourself. Like you can get upset about having to clean a kitchen up. You can say, maybe I should ask people for help. What's the best way or tell someone else to clean the house and I'll go for a walk. You know, there are different ways to handle things and not just accept that I could just be happy cleaning the kitchen.
So the going back to the ideal relationship to kind of answer this question and add to it, I guess, from a perspective of a man is if you have the ideal situation is that I don't know how to put it in terms of how the Bible says it, but it's like the man is the head and the
woman's the neck,
or something like that. What is it?
Anyway, that is not. Yeah.
But
I don't know. It's biblical,
all right. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that like the head of the household, you look towards the man for leadership.
Yes.
Right. You look, and it's not to say that the woman isn't a leader in her own right too. There is just this dynamic where attraction, one is always above the other. And the woman wants to be looking up and inspired by the man. Now, it's not to say that she doesn't have a voice or she doesn't have a word. And this is where I think we've gotten caught up in society where women have been suppressed so much to a point where now they need a voice and they need to speak up, and then they oversurpass the man. And now the man is lower than the woman. And now this dynamic and attraction is all screwed up.
And I think people feel pretty lost because of that.
They do.
I have a lot of really close guy friends who just tell me they're really great guys. And they'll be like, I literally just don't even know how to approach women anymore because it's like a landmine every single time. It's like some women are really wanting to be really intensely pursued, you know, and like have like, you know, a lot of that more traditional route of like, you know, dating and courting and like things like that. Whereas like other women are like, you know, really on the other end of the spectrum. And it's kind of like, let me drive the show and like, let me say what the thing is. And so, or it's like, if you compliment me too much, like you're creepy and you come off like a certain way. And it's like, it's just this like battleground. Whereas like, I obviously don't have the male perspective, but I just think that because of this swing of like extreme feminism, which was absolutely necessary to get basic, to create enough like revolution for women's rights to even get somewhat in the same playing field of what like men's rights are, like any general equality. But I do think there's such an overswing with it that there is a loss in like the sense of what is femininity. And it's like okay to be feminine. Like there was definitely a season of my life where I went so hardcore the other direction, hyper independent, like man hater, like all the other thing, but that was what was around me. And that was kind of like what was being information, like, you know, the girl boss era. Yeah. Like that's like fed to me in that way. And then you burn out and you see all these things that fall out because of that. And then it's like, you're kind of a hard person to date because you don't even know how to like soften in that relationship setting. So I relate to both ends of the spectrum. I think I've been on both for sure.
And you go through this, I think we all go through this teeter-totter in life from one extreme to the other to find the balance. And this imbalance that has occurred in society where the woman is hyper independent and the man is independent, but then we're raised by women who are hyper independent and the man has to be subservient to the woman because one person has to give. Like in a relationship, you can come to an agreement, but there has to be at some point, like who's going to take the lead? Who's going to run this?
But don't you think it could be a dance?
All right. So that's a good analogy, actually. Like who is always leading in the dance? in the tango and in any type of dance. It's the man twirling the woman.
Think it's nothing with relationships is that black and white. I love like conceptually and like from a foundational perspective, I love that.
Yeah.
Like I think that like is needed, but I also think like there's this like therapy speak and like these ideas and then like the reality of the situation and like life is messy. And like there's some times where your partner is going to feel like shit and like they cannot lead and they need you to step the fuck up and like do what you need to do.
Absolutely.
And like that swing needs to be like trusted.
That's what I mean by the whole dynamic of like who's on top and who's below or who's looking up at the other. Who's leading the way. There's moments in time where it's, the woman is going to hold the man in place and be able to check him in ways that he's not aware of. And it's up to the man to be able to flip it and restructure and like realign the relationship, the energy, his mentality, his focus. And it is a dance in that regard. It isn't just black and white, but the overall scope of relationships that I see today and growing up is that happy wife, happy life. This has been the theme. Make her happy, everything else is good. And that could be farther from the truth because the man is not doing what he needs to do. He's not mastering himself and being
like
the lead.
You're saying that's like terrible advice.
But,
I think that's terrible advice.
I also think that what you're saying. I also think that what you're saying though, there's like this whole thing between masculine and power or being a leader and feminine and being soft and a pushover or whatever. So this is a fine line of what you're talking about. And like, I agree with Hope, like there's more of this, it needs to be both people. They have to they have to both take a space, and I know like this is probably an overused term, but like a safe container and agree whether you're married, whether you're devoted to each other, whether you're partners, you're in the safe container and you are both aligned to this container and you do what needs to be done to keep this container safe. And some of those things is that communication because you looked at another man or another woman.
It was me. I was gawking at all these beautiful men
with their hairy butts.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No.
Or is it like a container in your container? Is it, I don't have enough energy today to clean the kitchen. Can you help me? Oh, I need to go get a massage because my back is hurting really bad and I need to do this for myself. Can you watch the 4 kids that we have?
Yeah.
And keep each other safe because that is the word. It's keeping each other safe. And then it's having the hard conversations because as a man, I believe that men, there's lots of books out on this. They aren't made for monogamous relationships. And so as a man, I do believe that you need to be honest with the woman about your feelings and have that conversation and see how you can like satisfy that need for wanting to go elsewhere and do things together to make things a little bit more exciting and I'm not just talking about sex here. I'm talking about like your actual relationship. Like don't have the same conversations. Come to the table with something different. That's why I think a lot of men who have good careers, at least they can talk to their woman about different things that are happening in their career. And it's something different. And the woman has something going on over here and it's something different. And they kind of change and morph so that you're not the same person over and over again coming to the table.
Well, I like the story you shared earlier about you and your husband, how he said to you, I want you to be happy. I want you to do the things that make you happy. So you do hypnosis. I want you to focus on that. And it seemed like what he was saying was then I'll step up and do these other things that you don't want to do or don't make you happy. And that's the awareness that maybe a man can bring to the relationship or even a wife can bring. But he did it in that moment for you. Like he saw, okay, this will make her happy. I'm going to let her know what I'm seeing or thinking, and then we can figure it out together. And she doesn't feel alone.
Yes, that's right. And that's what I'm saying about the safe container.
Yeah.
It's understanding what the other person's needs are, because they need to communicate that, right? You can't expect your man or woman to like read your mind.
Well, that's the thing. Not everyone can be that observant like he was. So some women, yes, you need to tell the guy, hey, this is what I'm feeling or thinking or seeing.
Well, I mean, but we were having a very, and I didn't, to be fair, I didn't really get to explain the whole conversation we were having. We were having a very deep conversation on a walk because I do a lot of business advising to a lot of companies, and it drains me really, really bad.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I know that these are long-term plays where, you know, we can add to our wealth and for generations to come, but it is not, I don't like it. I don't like it. I like to be able to help individual people. And I love spreading like love and peace and happiness. And in corporate America or startup world or wherever you're working, it's a bloodbath of just negative feelings because people haven't raised their consciousness enough to realize that they're all just fighting with themselves. And we're having this really deep conversation. And he said, listen, I just want to support you in any way that you're going to be happy.
Yeah.
And I hear that that's not making you happy. Focus on the hypnosis. Focus on Remember You podcast. Focus on soul transformation so that you can bring that one-on-one help to people who need it. And then he goes, and guess what? Then the people I'll be working with are going to be healthier and happier because you've touched them in some way.
Yes.
And he's like, same with me, because I like when we have our hypnosis sessions together. I do better at work. I have better conversations. And if you show up fully for the family and the people who are closest to you because you're fulfilled, that's what makes our family work.
Yeah. Well, because you're like the life kind of like force
in the family unit. And he recognizes that. Now we're older.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot, like my sister, she's 26 and she's got a baby and then one on the way. And her, she's a stay-at-home mom and her husband works and he's a truck driver. They have a whole nother, like, they don't have maybe those conversations every day, but then you sit back and you have to say, okay, how do I keep my safe container in that situation?
Yeah.
In that part of my life? And is it the man reframing? I don't know. I think it's them realizing they have this safe container and you stay inside the safe container. And when someone's about to pop out, there needs to be some kind of like warning bell.
I think there's you're meeting somebody who's done the level of self-work that you've been doing, right? And there's going to be,
I was just going to say that.
Right? It's just like, you can see what I can see. There's going to be blind spots that I have that you don't have. It's a glove in hand type fit, right? So they're complementary. And that's the big, I think, piece that people get away from is like, how do you define love? Like, I'm in love with you. I love you. No, majority of us are addicted to the other person.
But one other thought to riff off of what you were saying is that, and even what you were describing is so beautiful. Like, what an amazing relationship.
Yeah,
what
that's
an
a great
amazing partner.
example.
Like, bring him on. Also, I want him to teach us all AI because he's like, but you know, what an amazing thing. And obviously you've went through so many years of different trials and different things to like have and earned that experience and skill set to have. Those are like, you know, ninja style conversations where you're just like cutting through the bullshit. Like, it's really beautiful and like super special. And the safe container idea is so unique and like awesome. And that to me also speaks to how every relationship should create its own rules and create what is love mean to us? What does like our family flowing in our structure? Like, because some people like their structure is like, you know, that the man is more so taking care of things at home or has like other things. And then the woman's in a corporate job. Like, that's how my parents were growing up. My dad had a business that was making just as much money, but because he had the flexibility, he was able to do a lot more with us. And, you know, then my mom was stuck in an office. So to my point just being, and then I have like really close friends who have very traditional, you know, relationships where they, you know, do want to be the stay-at-home mom and the man is like the financial provider, but that is like their agreement and their vision and like the communication around what is right and works for us, I think is more important than this endless Instagram blanketed like relationship advice, because it is not a one size fits all. We're so completely different, all of us, and our needs and our desires. And like the biggest thing that I think is missing, especially in my generation, is people are too afraid to have really honest conversations. And it's like
because of the cancel culture that you guys were raised in.
Totally,
like,
probably.
I mean, I think I had I'll give you an example of what you're saying. So I had a client on Tuesday night, and he was like, I have such bad anxiety because I get into every single relationship, and I like think of when I want to say something, like my thoughts and what I need or whatever. He's like, I replay 16 different ways on how the woman's going to respond to me. And by the time I'm done, I'm so exhausted, I can't even get it out. And then I end
afraid to just like experience.
Yeah. And he's like, and so I'm afraid that she's going to cancel me or break up with me or reject me because of like one thing that I said. And I'm like, we worked on that through that, but there's so much to unpack there.
There's a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy. And it goes into this common theme that men are, nice guys finish last. And, it was a survival mechanism when they were younger. They had a hypervigilant mom. It could be a dad as well, but they found a way to keep the peace by being nice. Right. So he comes up with 16 different conversations or scenarios or responses to get the instant gratification of love or the feeling of love.
And in his words, it was the fear of rejection, but yeah.
Yeah. So the peace was made in that regard. And that's something that works temporarily, but then as we get into adulthood, people just carry that on and they carry it into their relationships, and then they don't learn to speak up for themselves. So this kind of goes back into, like I said, it always comes down to the man in my eyes, where it's like the man needs to set the frame to say, this is what we talk about. This is how I express myself. And it's not through yelling. It's not through anger, because we could say the woman does it and she's being reactive and she's being angry and she's raising her voice, but it's the cool, calm, and I've experienced from this. Like I was in a relationship with my son's mom, and there was just yelling back and forth, and it was toxic. And it wasn't until I changed my frame and I no longer yelled and I started taking responsibility for my own emotions. I didn't blame her at all. I didn't point the finger.
That is very real.
I did not point the finger. I did not blame her. I did not look for an apology or anything from her. And through that process, we've been able to co-parent very effectively and without arguing, even in challenging situations. And I'm not putting any of it on her to not take any of her power as a mom. She's following my lead.
Yeah. I agree with that.
That's real.
I agree with that. And I'll say that that's probably, there was maybe 75-25 and now, because I've seen all the change that I had to make from my past relationship. But my ex-husband would get really angry and start yelling. Most likely something I did that
triggered him.
I triggered him, and I was probably doing it on purpose just to get the fight going.
Absolutely.
But as soon as I realized that I fed off that, and it was my decision on how to handle that. And if maybe there would have been hope if he could have reframed how he was talking to me, calmed himself down. We worked through some of these things, because I literally fed off, and I would get so like uptight, I couldn't even function because I was such a feeler. But it's true.
So the awareness is universal. It's not feminine or masculine. It's just like awareness is awareness, right? Enlightenment is enlightenment. Spirit is spirit. And then then we start to bring it into feminine and masculine and all this. And in this 3-dimensional world, it's like, we are masters of this 3rd dimension, men. And then women, you are at that higher plane of the spiritual dimension. But you're trying to navigate those feelings and translate them into the 3rd dimension. We got a book over here on how to translate feelings into words or how to interpret feelings, because it's another language.
Well, and I wanted to add one thing before we move too far past it. I think because you made a really, really great point. Well, many, but one specifically that stuck out is like really understanding the amount of personal development that you've done for yourself. And then before you go into a relationship, understanding, engaging what that other person has done. Because it is like, not to say that you need to be totally on the same page, but like if you're 100% motivated by like personal evolution and the other person really just is like just trying to have like a good time or a good life, like you have to see, like really be honest with yourself, like is that going to
Is this compatible?
align? Because then they're going to constantly think like those hard conversations, which you're like, yes, like have those conversations. They're going to be like, this person cannot just be okay. Like, and it's like, in the relationship, you know, because they think that you're always bringing up like a problem. And I've been on both ends of that spectrum before starting my personal development, being with someone that was like way ahead of me. And then me being like, can we just like go to the bar and like chill? Like, what the fuck is all this? And then now it's like, I'm on the total opposite end of the spectrum where I'm just like, oh, like I love being like aware and like in tune and like communicating. And like, I love understanding even just for my friendships. Like when people say, I feel X, or, you know, I experienced this really bad thing. And I'm just like, what does that mean for you?
Yeah.
Because it's like what something means for you could mean to, it's like even that kitchen situation, like what your perception of that versus yours is like completely different. So it's like knowing to that communication and like taking the time to develop your communication in your every relationship. It's like, I don't know, to me, it's like the number one thing.
So the things that sparked you to when I was speaking about that relationship with my son's mom and like taking responsibility in this, it's like deep down, I think every woman is going, yes, like I want the man to do that. I want him to take responsibility, no longer blame. It's like you could interpret it in so many ways, but once when I start to exude that, now the world around me starts to shape and change, and you're inspired by that. Like you're going to feel weird and whack if you're going to be yelling at me when I'm just cool, calm, collective and not phased.
Right. Literally, Jordan does that to me all the time. Right. Like, and I'm just like, he's like, I'm not, what he'll say to me is, I'm not engaging in this right now. I'm not going to engage with you at this like level.
Yeah. And
so that's frame. Shitty about something.
That's frame.
He'll just be like, come back to me when you're chill.
Yeah.
Like, this is like,
I mean, and you can do that not only in your personal and like your romantic relationships, but you also do that with your kids.
Yes.
You can choose when you interact with them and when you don't. And when you interact with them on a low vibrational set point, you're always going to get that back. When you bring them up to a higher level, you'll get the higher level love and acceptance back. And at work, you can do it at work. You know, I counsel a lot of people at work for issues at work. And almost always the issue is that the person that they're talking to, that they're having a problem with, doesn't feel safe for some reason. And they're literally talking over each other. They're not listening to each other. And as soon as you take a step back, like you said, and you're sitting there calm and collective and like actually listening and hearing what the person's saying, then you can have a conversation because then you can come to like, we're both here for the same reasons.
And that's the whole point is like, not only you need honest communication, but you need teamwork. So you need to feel like you're a team in discussing and getting through this problem together. And I think that's why the idea of date night is a thing. Right. But people are doing it exhausted or forced and not at a time when they can really be open and receptive to a conversation. Like they can just enjoy each other's company, see that each other wants to be together and enjoy each other's company, and then have the conversations that may be bothering them that week.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. So I'll give you, I'll be very open and honest about this. I'm going to give you an example of this. So my husband and I, we don't get a lot of date nights. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Last week, we had free tickets to go see a theater play, and we were both, it was a Friday night. We were both exhausted. Like, I'm talking like I wanted to fall asleep at the dinner table. I was so tired.
Yeah.
I was having a hard time keeping my eyes open. And he was tired. And so we started kind of not fighting because we don't really fight, but kind of we got into this like little thing and this little tiff. And I was just like, you know what? We don't get to do this. Let's just enjoy the current moment, enjoy the food. And we're both tired. Like, let's go watch the show. We had a great time at the show. We got over it. The next morning when I was more awake and like feeling good, we had some coffee together. And he was like, what happened last night? I'm like, I was too tired to tell you, but this is how I felt. This is how I felt. This is how, and I felt like you were attacking me and all these things. And he was like, wow.
Yeah.
So it's what you're talking about. It was like this thing. We weren't ready to have this conversation.
That's why it goes back to holistic wellness, us being aware of how exhausted are we on a Friday night or whatever night it is, and should we just take a nap?
Yes.
Because if we don't, we're going to have these little things.
These breakdowns.
Yeah. And then we won't be happy with each other. And we're all exhausted because we have so much going on. We're just not taking the time to realize we are, and that we should just take our time to rest.
Yeah.
However that is, whatever rest that is, if it takes a nap or whatever, because some don't nap, like my husband.
But realizing like it's not like date night's not something we have to check off the list. Like if we just want to go and take a walk and then go to sleep at 7 because we can for whatever reason that night, or maybe there's a babysitter, go take a nap in the car together, like go do it so you can recharge your battery and then come back to your safe space.
Yes.
It's a good way to put it. I think the big deficiency that everybody has is time to themselves. It's going back to like, if my cup is full, my cup runneth over, right? Like if I just fill my cup and what fulfills me, and that, the cornerstones of life are your own health. What type of play are you partaking in that doesn't have to necessarily involve anybody else? Work that is like fulfilling to yourself, and your own sense of like connection and wealth. It's not just financially, but like the love that and connections that you have in your life, which portray into the partnership and the relationships we're talking about today.
But I think I'm going to interrupt you there for a second, because time to yourself, I'd like you to kind of give, I know you have an example about this, but there's people think that sitting on their phone scrolling.
Oh,
I have examples.
And I think we need to, and just real quick for the listeners, there has to be a place where you put the phone down.
Yeah, this does not involve, that is not time.
That is not time for yourself. And if you think sitting for 2 hours in bed scrolling through the phone is giving you time away, no, you're just feeding your dopamine production.
It's a trauma response. It's a numbing agent. Like there's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn.
Distraction too,
So these 4 states of I think it's 4. It's fight, flight, fawn, and freeze.
Yep.
And the freeze response is a trauma response where you're just numb and you just numb out and go on to the TV or the screen and just completely shut off because you're exhausted from whatever it is that you've been dealing with. And that's what most people are doing, is they're going on the screens, they're going on the phone and just numbing out.
And what's sad is people don't think of what can be time to themselves is actually going to a training session. Go see your trainer, go do a workout that's hard, that's going to make you feel better later. But maybe during, the session, you don't think so. But if you're there and you're with a trainer that, helps you talk about things that are bothering you, that can also be a relief. Like you discuss things, you get your workout in, you feel better, and later you'll even feel better about how you look too. And you learn about what you should be eating so that you can feel better too during your day-to-day life and living your life and thinking you're going to be stressed, but you're not, because you know how to handle it.
And being in the present. And to me, it's like doing those things and being happy about it and being in the present, like the actual, I think Guillermo said this, like every moment has a present in it. Like literally a present, like you have to take it. It's a gift. Like, so look at everything you're doing as a gift, but the phone is not a gift. No. What is it doing to you? And it's ruining a lot of relationships.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's a big problem. I have several clients that are going through it with their partners not being connected to them because they're on the phone too much. Same thing, they're having issues with their kids. Being on technology, it's a horrible master, a good servant, but it ends up being most people's masters. And, to the point that Michelle was talking about with training, it's everything in a focused sense is meditation, hypnosis. It's an altered state of mind, right? You're putting yourself into a place where you can just become very self-reflective, very in tune with yourself. That preparation then allows you, that meditation, that hypnosis, that session allows you to go into an argument or a trial or a situation and not be reactive to where you're breaking things down, but you're building things up, because every trigger or any type of pain that somebody feels, if you reflect on it properly, it leads to progress. It leads to growth. But we're so accustomed to the yelling back and forth, the pointing the fingers. You got to repair that, and you completely mask the deep down root cause to what triggered that whole response in the first place.
Big thing too is that both people have to be on board for a relationship like that.
Yeah.
Because that's like a real as fuck relationship.
Yeah.
Like in my opinion, like most people.
It's not for the weak.
Well, it's just like it's a mindset. Like I just don't know that everybody's willing to like be to that level of honesty and like transparency, because it's extremely vulnerable. Like being like, I fucked up, with XYZ, and like, or when you did this, it really made me feel bad. But I'm like, like my little thing this week, I was like so embarrassed to like even bring that. I was like laughing about it as I was bringing it up. I was like, I have to fundamentally, my beliefs, like I have to say something to you, or like, a year down the road, I'm going to be like, pissed about this, or like it's going to turn into something else.
You're going to notice it again. You're going to bury it even deeper.
Or it could literally have not even been real.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm literally making it up.
It's another big one. Yeah.
Pretty sure that it was. But I'm just saying, maybe, then if I didn't say it, then I'd be paranoid all the time that he was doing it. Like whatever.
But you're snapping him out of his hypnotic trance too.
Right.
So he's doing something, probably like you said earlier, doesn't even know he's doing it. And you're snapping him out. It's better to say something in the moment, than wait even, because you're snapping them out, and it's then easier for you to realize what emotions you need to deal with, realize where it's coming from, have that conversation.
It makes both parties more aware too. So it'll make him more aware that he's even doing something like that if he is, right? And then he can control it and not do it because he knows it bothers you. So like, and that not even care to do it maybe.
Well, and he has, I think there's things where it goes back to your frame, and instead of controlling it, changing the habit is really what it is.
But I also, the point of me bringing up like having both people on board for that like type of realness, because to me it's like if you're that safe in a relationship, that doesn't even have to be a confrontational conversation.
No.
Like you're just like, hey, I love you. I got it. Like, let's break this down. Or what we say or not. He actually did this to me before, was, do you have time for an uncomfortable conversation? And I'm like, and it's like, oh, like what is it going to be? But then it's like you're asking permission, because like if you're running out the door and like you'd be like, it's like there's respect in that.
Yeah.
But then
you're about to get on a super important call.
I'm like, God damn it, like no, but it's like prefacing it, and it's like every time you say that, it's not that it's the end of the world thing, but it's like, okay, we're getting it, rolling up our sleeves for a second. And I so appreciate that, because then it's like, okay, this is like, we can do this and like have that conversation. But for some people, they don't want that. Like they don't want that level of relationship. And that goes back to what I was originally saying, is like, take time to date, take time to like give yourself like what is your 5-year vision? Do you want a life partner? Are you sure about that? Like, who inspires you? Find people that are already successful in a relationship that you're like, that's the type of thing I want. And then reverse engineer it. Because it's just like nobody takes time to reflect, and then they get into these relationships
with
and
themselves.
It falls apart. Yes.
Like literally you're attracting a person that is at the same level as you. So if you don't know what you even want or where you need to start to self-reflect, then you're just going to keep getting all of that back. I had it happen for 25 years.
So this is where
humbling.
Wow. Now that I realize the power.
In an ideal world, we grew up with parents, and they grew up with parents, and they grew up with parents who had this awareness and conversation and connection and ability to handle their emotions. They had the awareness, but we haven't. We're in a world right now, I think we can all relate to this, where we're generational, we're curse breakers of our generations. So it's like, okay, where does it start? It starts with us. And this is where I'm like, my son, I put radical responsibility on him, where I'm like, this is all you. And the things that you're going through right now with us is all because of me, because I didn't set the frame.
Yeah.
I didn't set it up. Your mom felt unsafe, so she reacted in certain ways. That's causing you to feel certain ways. That's on me. So it's my job to straighten this out and clean it up and to live by example through it. And if we all had that, it's like, that's why I say it's a top-down effect. It's like, who's in charge with the CEO, or who's in charge of the company? At the end of the day, it's the CEO who has to really take responsibility for all things. Is that how you would frame it?
But then there's the board of directors.
Yeah, you knew where I was going.
I know.
Okay, so what I'm saying is like if
I think from a very simplified perspective.
That's what I'm trying to explain.
Like a very, very topical perspective.
But I
get what you're saying.
But I also think that there isn't. This does not lie on one person's shoulders. Nothing in life. Let's look. Most people can understand a company. Okay, so if you want to use the company example and metaphor, a CEO, the CEO. Unless you're a really small company and you're a one-person show, most of the companies have a board of directors. Think of the board of directors as your family and your support system. They are here to support you in your circle of safety. The CEO is there to lead the company. What does leading the company mean? It means setting an example. That's where, everybody talks about servant leadership, right? That means that you're there to serve everybody else. It does not. It means that you're there to lift those people up. You're there to help them become the best employees that they can be from every level. You have your circle of influences as the CEO at your C-suite level. You teach those people how to be leaders and facilitate change to everybody below, and your whole company then becomes a beautiful thing. What happens is there's a breakdown somewhere. So companies are really complex. But if you look at it as a society or a community or a family unit, you have a breakdown in one of your units. Well, then your bubble starts to have little holes and it's going to start to sink together. So, and that's because one person feels like they own everything.
So this is the kind of, I want to go back to like the happy wife, happy life thing. It's not like it's cold-hearted and it's not to make you happy. It is this, life gets a lot easier when you just start taking responsibility and
for yourself,
but then it's I'm not responsible for your happiness. Right. But I'm responsible for my happiness. And if we're in alignment, and this is the key thing, right? Alignment, the relationship's going to work. If I'm happy, you're happy, that I'm happy. That makes you, it resonates with you, and that allows you to be happy with yourself. And
there's something to be said about this. So in a lot of relationships, when you do that for yourself, the person who you're with will not grow with you.
Yeah.
And that relationship will end.
Exactly. You'll outgrow it, right?
Wait, if you do what?
If you are in a relationship where it has been, I'm giving, and I'm the one that's holding this whole thing all together, or so I think. And then all of a sudden I change my viewpoint, right?
Yeah.
As I change my viewpoint and I change what's inside me, and I start to love myself. I start to give myself what I need, and I start to become this person independent of what has been happening in this relationship. I would say 99% of the time you will lose that relationship because that person is so used to a different you.
Yeah,
they will not change with you.
And I think everyone needs to open their mind up to that. We're all here to learn and evolve. So we're not all ready for relationships even when we enter into them. Okay, so when we're entering into them and we see an opportunity to have a conversation, a hard one, then we have it, and then we see who that person is and give them time to evolve into the frame you're in. Because I think what Justin's saying is a little right in terms of leading, because I think we as women have to realize, why do we even pick the man we go with? Because he's a leader, right? He seems like a leader to us that we're going to follow, but we're going to follow him only if he shows interest in us. And the moment he doesn't show interest in us, we're going to stop following. So that's what I think the leading part of the man has to be, is like, you have to be all in for the woman you pick. And then when you're all in and we can follow you and trust you, then we can work together as a team to make this grow.
I think it's in like it's a feminine nature to want to support your man and let him get as high up as possible, because it's a win-win scenario.
Right. So we have to pick someone that we really believe in, right?
And he has to exude that every single day, because you come to your partner with something and he's like, I'm not going to have this right now. And he says it in a respectful way that's like, it's mirroring and reflecting something that, okay, we're going to talk about this later in a different tone.
But then you get to a point too where it's like, that's like in my opinion, like the exciting and like awesome part about relationships is that you start to get into, if it's going well, you get into that cadence where it's like, if he has ever said, like my current partner, Jordan, like if he ever said to me, like, you know, I'm not going to engage with you at this point, I appreciate the check. I'm like, okay, like I'm off the rails. Like, and it's like, I didn't know that. And it's not like, I'm not a yeller. I'm like also really similar to you, like, do not raise my voice and like, or like swearing, like over the top, like, just, I think it's like completely pointless. But if I'm coming from a place where I'm already got my story made up and I'm not coming open-minded and I'm not coming from a place that's grounded, it's like, there's literally not going to be a productive outcome of this. Yeah. And then it goes back to what you're saying is like, hey, like, did you remember we're on the same team? And like, this is the problem and this is us like looking at the problem.
Yeah.
I think that gets so missed. Like I do it all the time because I'm like, it's you, you know, like, or I get like so, because it's just fear. Yeah. Like, and that's for me is picking a man that makes you, for me, I'm so nervous system oriented, right? With the breath work. And it's like, I love being single. I think it's great. I love being super independent, literally do whatever the hell you want. Yeah. But if like, I'm going to be in a relationship, that's like what I'm looking for as well is like, can I fully just like, like in your presence,
be
like,
safe.
Am I able to just like be completely chill and like my weird self? Like, and I know that like, you know, you're always looking out for all the like things. And that's like, to me, it's like, that's what makes it worth being in a relationship. Otherwise, like, it's great doing your own thing. Like, why would you even do that?
But this is what
probably the addiction.
I mean, to my, this is why we're doing this, right? This Remember You, because in every, whether it's a romantic relationship, a business relationship, a parent-child relationship, you have to be working towards the same goal and have that bubble of safety. And it's being able to realize who you are within and having that safety here and that love here so that you can come to your bubble happily and show up real.
This is like when we're talking about like that generational curse type thing, and it's like taking the stance now that will change and create a ripple in the world is understanding this. I think, Michelle, you said it really well. Like you're choosing a man who is leading. So how do you, your leadership is how to support his leadership. And that's the yin yang to this bubble that I see what you're talking about is like, how do I support him in the best way possible to get him to be the best version of himself? Because that makes me more attracted to him and more in tune with him. And it's like alignment will allow you two to grow together. If it's not meant to be, it's going to split apart. And and the way I see it is like, you talk about dating, like get yourself out there. And it's like, imagine a world where you had a prime example of what it looked like to be in alignment, communication, relationally, love-wise. And it was like, that was in tune from the day you got into this world. You probably wouldn't have to date so much.
Right. Oh, 100%.
Right. You would be more in tune, more focused, and there would be more alignment. And there'd be less of the ache and the pain and the uncertainty and the things that we go through.
Yeah.
And we've gone through the trenches of and in war to figure out who we are and what we prefer and what's alignment for us and continue to do that. That's where the self-awareness comes in. That's where it's knowing that's what I mean by I don't need you. I don't need this person. I'm in tune with myself. My cup is full. And with alignment, it's going to help fill the other person's cup.
I totally agree. And I would say only really recently have I been able to like deeply understand. I had like a really, really bad breakup like a year ago where it was like writing on the wall. I just could not walk away. It was an addiction, like codependency to each other. And individually, we became actually way better versions of ourselves, but killed each other in the process of doing it. And like probably lack of the communication or like being on the same page of like what the future vision is and like all these different things. But my whole point for me and how I contributed in that is that I completely sacrificed myself for him, like improving and like, you know, building different things or whatever else. And it wasn't that he asked for that though. Like, it was just like, that was like what my natural way, I guess. I don't know. And so it's like,
I think it's a natural people pleaser thing.
Totally.
And that's what mostly women do. And that's why
I didn't even know.
For yourself.
My point was that it wasn't like, I was still building my business. I was still doing everything else, but it was like, and that. And then I started to be like physically ill and like have all these different things and was like, why isn't this working? And it's like, my whole point of this side journey here was to come back to how you brought up self-awareness. And it's like taking a huge pause and really developing self-awareness and like what you actually want and like what are your triggers? Like what is your natural tendency? So you can like watch out. For me, it's like when I get into a relationship, I have a tendency to overgive. And I don't feel like I do that anymore, but I had to learn through the being burned, basically. Yeah. And I don't know, I just think that it all goes back again to like having that relationship with yourself first.
And I think that's why I know that's why we're doing the soul level transformation, right? So that we can help people work through these things, because there's so many situations in life where you don't have a good surrounding like board of directors that you can go to and have these conversations. A lot of us have to work through this all by ourselves. Yeah. It takes decades, if not, many more than that. And that's to your point, Justin, what you're talking about is like, let's at least give this new generation that's coming into the world a little bit less trauma and a little bit more like rise in their consciousness and ability to see that where you truly are is pure love. And if you enter into a world that's pure love, self-worth, and acceptance, then you make better choices for everybody around you.
Yeah, the conversations I'm having with my son is like through my experience of this, and this, dating women and going through the process of identifying what works and what doesn't for me. I'm helping him through the process to say, hey, consider these factors. Know your values, set boundaries, express yourself. And we're doing that in real time through our communication and through the communication with his mom, where normally I wasn't taught to express myself as a kid, so I buried it and acted out where he doesn't, because we're working through the process.
But he knows he can trust you and that it's a safe space for him to express, even if it's messy, or
exactly.
even if it's inaccurate or whatever. Yes. Like he knows that it's okay.
Yes.
Well, and what you guys are talking about is the relationship. You're setting him up for a relationship that is healthy.
Yeah.
And so it's like now he's going to look and see himself in that light, and he's going to find people in his life that mirror that.
And for a bigger purpose, like in my experience with one of my purposes with dating is to not only for myself, but to show him what this is like and what does a healthy relationship or what does communication look like, and it's not a beautiful dance all the time. Sometimes it's rainy, sometimes it's dirty, sometimes it's hard. And he's experiencing that. I'm walking him through that process. And I would urge people to look at, like, when you're having a conversation or an argument it's trauma when you see your parents fighting and yelling and not agreeing and splitting up and going through that whole process. It's very traumatic, but we're resilient. So we deal with it. We bury it deep down and it eventually comes back up.
Right. Well, this is like a little bit of a different tangent, but like, thinking about things, I love to like think of things from like a historical perspective always. So like, what was the purpose of long-term relationships from like an evolutionary standpoint? Yeah. What's the purpose of relationships in like the Industrial Revolution? Like, what's the purpose? Like, there has been an actual, either a biological need, a financial need, and then like there's like traditional and like Christian influence. But it's like we're at this point in time, we're at this total crossroads where it's like, really everyone, there aren't those needs. And so it's like, that's where the level of consciousness and conscious relationships gets exciting, because it's like, okay, like there isn't that like deficit of one or two things. It's like, we're choosing this because we want it. And I think that's
a big difference.
Very new. And people are like, what the fuck do I do in that?
Yeah, because you're stepping outside of a role that maybe you've been given. Mm-hmm. So like, I'm not going to go too far back, but in the 1920s, a man and a woman relationship was, you were given these roles and you were playing these roles out. You were given, as an actor.
This is how a lady acts.
Yes, as an actor in your life, you were given these roles and responsibilities, and this is how you were have to do it. And when you knew what guidelines you were working with, that was easy, pretty much. People weren't filling their soul.
They didn't question it.
Yeah. And then now you move on and there's all this different in what the role should be and different views and all these things. And we have so many more choices.
And I think that is not, I just don't think anyone knows how to navigate that like level of availability. And then there's like dating culture now, which is like, you're just swiping and it's like instant gratitude.
Everything is like hypersexualized.
Oh,
and
100%.
it's like, I fell into that for a long time. That's what I mean by mastering lust. Like, I don't know if we went to like really understanding that, but I have a lot of clients who are addicted to something, whether it's alcohol, work, or other things. And I would tell them blatantly, like, if I had an addiction, it was probably women. Like, that was my addiction. And it wasn't like I was functional. I wasn't like I was bypassing work or my son or anything else. Like, my responsibilities are intact.
Hold on, wait. An addiction. Do you know what the actual
like the
definition of an addiction is?
The clinical term. I don't know the clinical. Could you define it?
The clinical term of addiction is something that you're doing and you have to do it every 2 hours to sustain it. So you do, unless you have to do a woman every 2 hours, which is really, really impressive, you have a habit.
Yeah, I have a habit. So this is what I would say is how I define addiction as attachment. So I get validation from an outside source that makes me feel good for a temporary period of time, but there's always a hangover.
So you have a habit.
So I'll say, I like the clinical, I'll bypass the clinical and say we're all addicted because we all have that. You could call it habit.
We have a habit we need to break.
So there's an attachment. We could agree on attachment.
Yes.
Okay. So there's an attachment here for external validation that gives me some sort of feeling good or intimacy, connection, whatever it may be. But then my ego craves for it more.
Oh, so totally. Wait, though, then the question then becomes is what do you do to replace that?
So that's where the self-work comes in, and it's awareness. It's understanding, okay, I'm doing this in order to get something. So why I started asking myself, why am I doing this? Like, where is this coming from? It's coming from a place of lack. It's coming from trauma. It's coming from you're using excuses and reasons right now. Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do? What am I going to replace it with?
Mm-hmm.
So the replacement is, it's understanding
yourself.
I don't know that it needs to be, I don't know that it needs, if you go the route of replacement, like I get where you're going, you're like doing hypnosis right now. I'm like,
that's why I know you're going.
Like, I want him to think about what he's saying.
I want him to too.
So let me add to it. So when there's a trigger of any sort. So I see somebody, or I have the urge, or I have the opportunity to be with a woman. Okay. So there's that trigger, that feeling. Okay. In past times, I would just react to it. Unconscious, right? Mm-hmm. When you bring awareness to it and you understand that, oh, this is something that I've done time and time again. It doesn't give me the result that I want. It doesn't, and a more awareness of my vision of the man who I want to become and who I want to be and who I want to live into. I can have more awareness around the situation, just as meditation does, where you can look at a thought or a feeling and go, oh, it's just a cloud passing by. You're not actually identified with the thing. Mm-hmm. So understanding of the habit or the attachment allows you to actually paradoxically detach from it.
Yep.
So you see that, and I guess that's the replacement that you're asking about.
And then you could make a different choice.
Then you make a different choice. So instead of translating that to being with a woman, I could translate that into my business or going out for a walk or doing something constructive for myself. And you fill the time and space with something that is more in alignment with the vision and the awareness that you have about yourself.
So is it like replacing the belief that you have an addiction with another belief that I don't have an addiction, I just have...
So
I have a habit. I have a habit that needs to change because it's not serving me anymore. At one point, that was keeping you safe, and it had good intentions for you, right? Because you were getting that connection you needed, And so you've decided now that habit is not something that you want to continue with, and you want to make changes to that. Understanding what is driving those habits so that you can change it, understand it right away, and make the new and put your new habit in. I mean, like think about it as an alcoholic, right? All alcoholics love to say that I'm addicted to, or
so that's
okay. Alcoholics say I'm addicted to alcohol, right? They're most of them aren't waking up at 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. drinking. Maybe they go to sleep for 6 hours and they still drink. They have to realize though that this is not serving me. My alcohol habit is pushing my emotions down.
That's why I say the simpler thing to say is I'm not that person anymore. I'm not the person that needs to have sex with the woman that I'm craving or whatever.
Right.
I don't need to do that anymore because I know I don't get the result that I want out of that sexual act.
Because it's not serving you anymore.
That's
But
so
you
there's
just say I'm not that person anymore. It's easier. That's what we're all missing with our manifestations is we're not saying who we are we're saying who we were or who we believed ourselves to be back in the past, when right now we are who we are and we're not accepting
You have the choice to change at any second
not that
and have
anymore.
those feelings. And for you, it's easy. For some people, it's like remembering that you have that internal magic and power.
That level of power.
You have the power, take your power back.
Right, because you go through experiences and realize that's not working for me. This is not what I ever really wanted. I'm not getting the result that I ever wanted with what I was doing.
Right.
So I'm not even that person. I wasn't even that person then. I was just thinking that it was going to get me a result, right?
Well, and that's where when you look at all the Instagram posts and everything about letting things go, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right? Let what happened a minute ago go. And you are now this new person. Every minute you have this opportunity to make new choices and do different things for yourself. So feel and embody it. You know, you have the choice.
Yeah, it's so kind of take that like external validation, that thing that I needed at those times to be able to feel fulfilled and feel whole. And then the clue to all of this is if something gives you joy or excitement or a thrill or a high, but then you experience a low afterwards, you're attached to it. And that's where in relationships, bringing it back to our topic at hand, my relationship with women was that. It was high and then low, high, then low. And it wasn't until repeat offense and over and over and over again, finally realizing, oh, I get a hangover every time after this. This isn't good. My energy feels low. Okay, now it's not worth it, right? So that awareness and understanding of it allows me to then, instead of going left, I go right. And the same thing goes for conversations and interactions with a romantic partner, especially, or our children, or any close relationship where it's like, how many times do you have a close, beautiful, awesome high with this person, but then it carries over into a low where it's something breaks down, something happens.
Then I think you
and
need
then that's what I'm saying. Hold on.
to what are your thoughts before, during, and after? What are you thinking? Because it's different for everyone. Someone can feel low, but just because they're tired, not because there's a negative reaction to whatever you just did, right?
What I'm saying is like the attachment to attachment is I need something outside of myself to feel whole. So if you're giving me a look, or there's something that you said or something that wasn't said that didn't make me feel whole or full, that's a trigger that you got to look within as to why are you putting your power outside of yourself?
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing, though, we also have to realize is that the highs and the lows are normal parts of life. And so is it within your safe circle? Is it something that's serving you now today? Or is it something that needs to actually be addressed? Like to your point, maybe you're just tired and you're having a low. Or, hey, maybe your light is so bright you're taking a shadow out of someone else that you're dealing with, and they need to deal with that. And they're taking it out on you, and you get a low. And then that's kind of the universe's way of like, it's physics of like evening everything out.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're never always going to be here. You're going to ride the waves.
So this is where I'll say though, it's like, if we hold ourselves to a standard, not of like, everything's kumbaya. If somebody acts out of line, everything's all good. And it's just, no, there's negative and positive, but you can get to a level where you are, unaffected by anything.
You can get to a level where your wave is low. Think about it like on emotionals levels. You can get to a place where you're on a high and low riding your anger or your fear.
Yeah.
Or you can get to a place that you're on a high and low, that you're at peace or love or something like that. And it's always going to be, it's a wave. It's a sound wave. It's an energy wave.
This just popped in. So not to your point, there's always ups and downs. I'm not saying, I said it's definite. You could be cool, calm, collective versus everything. It's more so how fast you rebound. Right. So it's like you feel shitty. Boom. How fast do you quit?
But that's the thing.
Do you bounce
can
back?
Rebound really fast. So
You can
what's the difference?
But I
what
think
does that mean then?
what he was,
right?
what my interpretation of what you were saying, because I think we're talking about two different things now, but my interpretation of what you were saying is that your habit with women created the same experience as that of like the cycle of addiction.
Yeah.
Where it's like it gave you a high and then you felt crashing down and it wasn't something that you felt you could have control of. You felt like I can't stop doing this, and it's just like anytime it's in front of me or whatever, it's like I just like it's automatic, like looking at the women like you don't even know, so it's like you're not even thinking about it. So disrupting that and getting out of that cycle gives you your power back, and then also allows you to like, just not even replace that, but just like have awareness around it. It's like what inside of me was like hurting so much that I really needed that. Because I honestly relate to being a little boy crazy, like not in the same maybe sense of like the physical aspect, but just of always like loving being chased, loving being in like little flings or relationships and having things like that. But very obviously, like to me, like it like hit me like a brick wall of just realizing like, oh, this is like, I'm just like running from myself. This is like a void, but it's like not having that consciousness. You really don't know. You're just thinking you're having fun, but it's like, why do I always feel like shit after this? Or why is this always falling apart in this really bad way? It's like, because there's no consciousness or like self-awareness around it. So I empathize. I get that.
It's the universe, like, go ahead.
You're feeling a lack in yourself. Like if you're feeling a lack in yourself and then you go and do this sexual act thinking the love will just come out of it, and then it's just not there when the sexual act is done. Okay, I could see that's a problem.
Well,
or if we're pursuing someone,
it depends on what you want. There's people that doesn't matter.
What do you mean?
Like there's people who like hook up and that's like their agreement and like whatever. But
that's the thing. If he's looking for love out of that act, then
it's
is that
never
where
gonna
the
be
low
there.
is that where he thinks that it wasn't there and he had?
I think that's like a different. I think we're talking about a different thing. But yeah,
no, I think there's it all intertwines, right? So I think that there's a place where if you actually look at why you maybe you want to have different relationships with different women, there's a lust thing, but there's also a thing that you're keeping yourself safe.
Yes,
because it's
there's a detachment.
So you don't have to get real deep with somebody.
It's a very safe place because I have my business, my son, and I kept it very surface level in the context of this is what it is, and this is what it's only going to be.
And that's why a lot of people and that's why a lot of people stray out of a relationship. There's so many other reasons, but they don't want to have that deepness with a wife or a partner or whatever.
Yes.
And they're scared to go even deeper because that they don't know. They weren't taught, to your point. They didn't come out and so they go and find a lover on the side that's fun, exciting, lustful, that they don't have to deal with all of that shit over here that is really within themselves.
Yes. That they have to feel safe within themselves. So you feel safe in yourself. You go and have a relationship with someone, and whatever happens with that person, you still are safe within yourself. So you can have a relationship or not have a relationship, but still feel good within yourself. But if you don't feel that, then when you go with someone else, then it just doesn't work.
It's just repeating the cycle too.
And then you want detachment because you don't want to have to feel attached to anyone that would leave, but you shouldn't have to care if anyone leaves because you're good with yourself.
Yes.
Exactly. Who cares if anyone leaves? I'm good.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And seen.
So you don't need detachment. You could just decide you want a serious relationship.
Yeah.
And then let it happen.
This was such a good conversation.
It was.
I feel like this is so relevant. And like so many of my really good friends, I like from all ages, I feel like this is such a collective topic right now. And so I think we should bring like someone who's like a relationship expert to like talk about, you know, tools or tactics next time. Cause this was like great and we all have experience, but someone who's like, this is their like zone. I think we should do that for a part 2. Maybe we'll see what the listeners think.
Yeah. Give us some comments.
It's just so relevant because it's not just romantic relationships. It's
work.
Everything. Like everything in life is a relationship with yourself, a relationship with your work, your friends, your family, everything. It's so important. And there's no training on how to cultivate good, healthy relationships. And that's why everybody's out here like acting crazy because there's no frame of reference. Like there's like, what do? I don't need to be married now because of the different time zones.
Well, and I think and honestly, I would love to hear what our listeners say. I do think we're rewriting history right now and rewriting our ability to raise ourselves as human beings into a different level of understanding. And there is like relationship advice. There's psychotherapy and all these things you can do, hypnotherapy. But really what it comes down to is each one of us making a decision that we're going to change the way that we're showing up. So anyways.
I love it. I kind of feel like that's
show up next time.
I think that's a great segue.
Yeah.
Is there anything else y'all want to add?
No, I think we nailed it today.
Awesome.
All right.
Love it.
See you for our next episode.